Have you ever wondered why something as simple as rosemary could make your erection feel stronger, fuller, and more responsive than it has in years? Men over 50 often assume that when the penis stops getting hard the way it used to, the problem is testosterone or age itself, but the real issue is almost always blood flow. And this is where rosemary becomes surprisingly powerful. Most men see it as just a kitchen herb, but inside those thin green leaves is a set of compounds that act like natural circulation boosters, opening the blood vessels that feed the penis and restoring the pressure needed for real rigidity. As a urologist, I have watched countless patients ignore these simple tools and suffer in silence, convinced something was wrong with them, when in reality their sexual system just needed better vascular support. So let me ask you directly. Are you tired of erections that fade halfway, or the frustration of feeling that blood is not filling your penis the way it once did during sex? Rosemary contains rosmarinic acid, cineol, and natural antioxidants that help relax arterial walls, stimulate nitric oxide, and reduce the inflammation that quietly restricts penile circulation as the years go by. The moment blood can flow freely again, the penis responds with firmness, weight, and fullness that feel like your younger self returning. Men tell me all the time that they spent years trying pills, tricks, and pressure, never realizing that part of the problem was simply that their microcirculation had slowed down. Rosemary gives your body a way to reclaim that function naturally, without forcing it or depending on chemicals. And the best part is that this works both internally and externally. When prepared the right way, rosemary can prime your vascular system from the inside, and when used topically, it generates a warm, tingling sensation that increases penile blood flow within minutes. Many men do not know that penile tissue is extremely responsive to thermal and circulatory stimulation, and rosemary activates both through its essential oils and vasodilating compounds. This is why what I am going to show you next is so important, because using rosemary incorrectly leads to almost no effect, while using it the right way can dramatically change the strength of your erection. Before we move forward, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt your erection weaken because the blood flow just was not there? Share your experience in the comments, and while you are there, like this video and make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the next steps. This simple engagement helps more men discover solutions that truly work, and it keeps this conversation alive as we go deeper into how rosemary restores natural rigidity. Now that you understand why this herb is so powerful, let us move into the details that will transform how your body responds. Many men believe that weakened erections after 50 are simply a matter of age or hormones fading, but the truth is far more specific and far more fixable. What actually changes inside the male body is the efficiency of blood flow, especially in the tiny arteries that carry pressure into the penis. Those arteries are so small that even a slight reduction in flexibility, nitric oxide production, or endothelial responsiveness can dramatically change how hard and how long the penis can stay erect. When you were younger, your vascular system responded instantly, opening wide to let blood surge in. But as the years pass, the smooth muscles inside the vessels stiffen, the inner lining becomes less reactive, and nitric oxide levels drop sharply, leaving the penis with only a fraction of the pressure it once had. That is why you may still feel desire, still feel mentally ready for sex, yet the body does not follow with the same firmness. It is not a lack of masculinity. It is not a psychological failure. It is physiology slowing down quietly, often without obvious symptoms until the moment you need a strong erection. And this is where the misunderstanding begins. Many men think testosterone is the main driver of erectile function, but in clinical practice, I see the opposite. Men with normal testosterone often struggle because their circulation is restricted, while men with moderate testosterone levels experience strong erections simply because their blood flow is healthy and responsive. Erections are hydraulic events, dependent on pressure, expansion, and vascular elasticity far more than on hormones alone. Nitric oxide is the key molecule behind this entire process. It signals the penile arteries to widen, allowing blood to fill the corpora cavernosa and create the swelling and rigidity necessary for penetration. After 50, nitric oxide production can drop by more than half, and this decline makes the penis harder to fill and easier to lose. Even minor inflammation, high sugar intake, long periods of sitting, and stress hormones can further constrict those vessels. When you combine these factors, the result is a penis that wants to respond but simply cannot generate the pressure it once did. This is why natural vasodilators like rosemary become so valuable. They do not force the body the way medications do. They restore the environment that erections depend on, helping the vessels become more flexible, reducing oxidative stress, and supporting the natural release of nitric oxide. Understanding this shift in your vascular system is the foundation for improving your erections. Once you know that the real barrier is circulation, not aging itself, you can start making changes that directly support the arteries feeding the penis. Rosemary is one of those tools, and when used correctly, it works with your physiology instead of fighting against it. And now that you understand what is happening inside your body, the next step is learning how to prepare rosemary in a way that actually enhances blood flow rather than diluting its effect. When men hear that rosemary can strengthen an erection, the first reaction is disbelief. How could a simple plant influence something as complex as sexual performance? The answer lies in the unique combination of bioactive compounds inside rosemary that directly affect the four pillars of natural erections: circulation, arterial flexibility, nitric oxide availability, and smooth muscle relaxation. Unlike synthetic medication, which forces the penis to react artificially, rosemary works by restoring the biological environment the penis needs to become firm and stay firm. One of the most important compounds is rosmarinic acid, a powerful antioxidant that reduces the inflammation that builds up inside blood vessel walls over the years. This is critical because inflamed arteries become stiff, narrow, and slow to respond, making it harder for blood to enter the penis with enough pressure. When rosmarinic acid begins reducing oxidative stress, those vessels regain part of their elasticity, allowing blood to move more freely. Another component, cineol, has a mild natural vasodilating effect, guiding the arteries to relax and open. This relaxation is what allows a larger volume of blood to enter the corpora cavernosa, the two chambers inside the penis responsible for swelling and rigidity. Rosemary also interacts with the endothelial cells, which produce nitric oxide. These cells weaken with age, and their ability to communicate with the penile arteries becomes slower. The compounds in rosemary stimulate these cells, helping them release more nitric oxide and respond more efficiently when arousal begins. This means the penis fills faster, stays firmer, and resists the sudden drop in pressure that causes an erection to fade midway. For many men, the difference is not just in achieving an erection but in maintaining the fullness, weight, and stability they thought were gone forever. There is another layer of action that is often ignored: rosemary improves microcirculation, the tiny vessels that surround and penetrate the penile tissue. These vessels are essential for sustaining an erection because they maintain constant pressure while the larger arteries provide the initial influx of blood. When microcirculation is weak, erections feel thin, unstable, or incomplete. Rosemary's natural oils enhance the responsiveness of these smaller vessels, improving blood delivery deep inside the erectile tissue. This is why some men report not only stronger erections but also increased sensitivity and warmth in the pelvic region. The combined effect of these mechanisms is a noticeable improvement in how the penis responds to arousal. It becomes easier to achieve firmness, the rigidity lasts longer, and there is a renewed feeling of strength that often surprises men who had accepted decline as inevitable. And because rosemary works in harmony with your body, its benefits accumulate rather than fading. With consistent use, the vascular system adapts, allowing the penis to receive blood more efficiently day after day. Understanding how these compounds interact with your vascular system sets the stage for the most important part: using rosemary correctly. The way it is prepared determines whether you get a mild effect or a powerful surge in blood flow that directly impacts erection quality. To make rosemary actually restore stronger erections, you need to prepare it in a way that preserves its essential oils and concentrates the compounds responsible for increasing blood flow. Most men use it incorrectly, boiling it until the active elements evaporate or diluting it so much that it loses its potency. The right method begins with the hot infusion technique, which is simple but must be done with precision. Start by heating water until it reaches the point just before boiling, because boiling water destroys part of the natural oils that stimulate circulation. Add 1 full tablespoon of fresh rosemary or a slightly smaller amount if you are using dried leaves, then cover the cup immediately. Covering is essential because it traps the vapors that carry cineol and aromatic oils, the very substances that improve penile blood flow. Let it steep for 10 to 15 minutes, allowing the water to pull out the circulation-enhancing compounds with enough strength to create a measurable effect. Once the infusion is ready, drink it slowly so your body can absorb the compounds without overwhelming digestion. The best time is on an empty stomach, especially in the morning or 30 minutes before a meal, when the body responds more efficiently to natural vasodilators. Many men report a warm sensation spreading through the abdomen and pelvis after consistent use, which is a sign that circulation is becoming more responsive. The key is consistency. This infusion works best when taken daily, because the compounds accumulate and gradually soften the stiffness inside blood vessels that has been building up for years. Some men prefer to take a second dose in the late afternoon, especially if their erections tend to weaken during evening sexual activity, and this pattern can be very effective for maintaining stable blood pressure in the penile arteries. The second method, the concentrated rosemary extraction, is even more powerful. This is where you simmer, not boil, the rosemary in a smaller amount of water to produce a stronger dose. Place 2 tablespoons of rosemary in a small pot with just enough water to cover it. Heat on the lowest flame for 10 to 12 minutes, keeping the pot covered at all times. The goal here is not to cook the plant but to release its oils into the water without letting them escape. The liquid will become more aromatic and darker, indicating that the essential compounds have been released. After straining, you will have a concentrated preparation that many men use as a pre-intimacy booster, because it stimulates microcirculation more quickly. This concentrated method should be used carefully, ideally once a day or before sexual activity, because the effect on blood flow can be noticeably stronger. Some men feel warmth in the pelvic region within 30 minutes, a sign that the rosemary is activating the endothelial response responsible for erections. Others experience more stable rigidity during arousal as their vascular system becomes more flexible. Combining both methods, the daily infusion and the concentrated extraction, creates a rhythm that supports daily vascular health while offering a more immediate effect when needed. As you learn these preparation techniques, the next step is exploring how rosemary works externally on the skin, creating a second level of support for your erection by stimulating local blood flow directly in the penile tissue. Using rosemary topically creates a second pathway for improving erections, because the essential oils penetrate the skin and stimulate local blood flow directly in the penile tissue. The penis responds extremely well to this type of stimulation due to its high concentration of smooth muscles and microvessels, which open quickly when exposed to warmth, friction, and vasodilating compounds. To create an effective topical preparation, start by infusing rosemary into a carrier oil. Olive oil, almond oil, or jojoba oil work well because they absorb easily and help transport the active molecules through the skin. Place 2 tablespoons of rosemary and 5 tablespoons of oil in a small pan. Then heat it gently on the lowest possible setting for 15 to 20 minutes. The oil should never boil, because excessive heat destroys the cineol and terpenes responsible for stimulating circulation. Once the oil becomes aromatic and slightly greenish, strain it and let it cool to a comfortable temperature. When applying the oil, use slow, controlled movements that follow the natural direction of blood flow. Begin at the base of the penis, warming the skin with your hands for a few seconds, then slowly move upward. The pressure should be firm enough to encourage circulation but not uncomfortable. This combination of heat, friction, and rosemary compounds activates the vessels that feed the corpora cavernosa, allowing more blood to enter during arousal. Many men notice a distinct warming effect and a subtle increase in fullness even before sexual stimulation begins. This happens because topical rosemary enhances endothelial responsiveness, making the penile arteries widen faster when the body signals for an erection. For deeper stimulation, focus on the underside of the penis, where the urethral sponge and surrounding vessels are particularly sensitive to improved circulation. This area is closely linked to the pressure buildup needed for rigidity, so increasing blood flow here can significantly strengthen the erection. Continue the massage for 5 to 8 minutes, allowing the oil to be absorbed slowly. The effects become stronger over time because consistent use reduces microvascular stiffness and improves the tissue's ability to expand. It is important to give the oil a few minutes to fully absorb before washing or covering the area. Leaving a thin layer on the skin allows the compounds to continue working, maintaining the warmth and circulation boost longer. Some men also apply a warm compress to the pelvic region afterward, which enhances the vasodilating effect and relaxes the smooth muscles that control penile expansion. This combination often results in a more responsive erection, especially for men who struggle with slow blood flow or difficulty maintaining rigidity. Topical use becomes even more powerful when paired with the internal preparation from the previous steps, because the body receives rosemary's benefits from both directions. And once this external method becomes part of the routine, the next challenge is avoiding habits and mistakes that can cancel out the improvements and prevent rosemary from reaching its full potential. One of the biggest reasons men fail to see results with rosemary is not the plant itself, but the way they use it. Even a powerful natural vasodilator cannot compensate for habits that constantly restrict blood flow to the penis. The first major mistake is using rosemary sporadically rather than consistently. Erections depend on vascular responsiveness, and the compounds in rosemary need time to soften the stiffened vessel walls and restore nitric oxide activity. Taking it once or twice and expecting a dramatic change is one of the fastest ways to become disappointed. The body adapts gradually, and only steady exposure allows the erectile tissue to regain the elasticity it has lost over the years. Another common error is diluting the infusion too much or boiling the leaves until the essential oils evaporate. Men often prepare rosemary like a casual tea, unaware that the temperature and extraction method directly affect how much blood flow support they actually receive. When the active oils escape through steam or when the infusion is too weak, the body barely absorbs anything. This leads to the impression that rosemary does little, when in reality the preparation method is the reason for the poor results. Using overly large quantities of water, steeping for too short a time, or leaving the cup uncovered all reduce potency and cancel the effect on penile circulation. Lifestyle mistakes also play a significant role. Heavy, inflammatory meals consumed daily weaken vascular function, creating constant resistance inside the arteries that feed the penis. High sugar intake stiffens the endothelial lining, making nitric oxide release more difficult, and long periods of sitting compress the pelvic vessels, reducing the natural blood flow that supports erections. Even timing matters. Drinking rosemary immediately after a heavy meal slows absorption dramatically, and applying topical oil when the skin is cold reduces its ability to penetrate and stimulate microcirculation. Another overlooked issue is inconsistency in massage technique. Some men apply the topical oil with quick, superficial movements that do little to activate local blood flow. Others rush through the process, unaware that the warming phase and gradual pressure are what help the vessels expand and draw blood into the tissue. The penis responds best when the area is warmed, stimulated, and exposed to a steady release of rosemary compounds. Skipping these steps leads to weaker results and less noticeable changes in rigidity. There is also the mistake of expecting rosemary to compensate for habits that directly block blood flow, such as smoking, poor sleep, and chronic stress. These factors constrict vessels, elevate cortisol, and decrease sexual responsiveness. Rosemary can support circulation, but it cannot override daily patterns that continuously restrict it. Understanding these barriers makes it easier to correct them and create an internal environment where rosemary can produce real, measurable improvements. Once these errors are removed, rosemary's effects become significantly more noticeable. And with these foundations in place, the next step is putting everything together into a structured plan that helps the body respond more powerfully day after day. To make rosemary truly transform your erections, you need a structure that guides your body into a predictable rhythm of circulation, vascular relaxation, and nitric oxide recovery. A 7-day protocol gives the penis the consistency it needs to respond more quickly, and many men notice the difference long before the week is over. The plan begins each morning with the hot infusion, prepared exactly as described before. Drink it on an empty stomach so your body can absorb the circulation-enhancing compounds without interference. This first step wakes the vascular system and prepares the arteries that supply the penis to open more easily throughout the day. By the third or fourth morning, men often report a warm pelvic sensation and a deeper sense of pressure when arousal begins, signs that blood flow is becoming more efficient. In the afternoon, use the concentrated rosemary extraction. This creates a secondary boost that supports nitric oxide release and improves the flexibility of the endothelium. Taking this dose consistently stabilizes the pressure needed for erections to form and stay rigid. Many men who had issues losing firmness midway during sexual activity begin to experience more stability, because the body adapts to the steady supply of vasodilating compounds. If you prefer evening intimacy, this second dose is especially helpful because it primes the vascular system for nighttime arousal, when circulation is naturally slower. For external support, apply the rosemary-infused oil at least once a day, ideally in the evening when the body is more relaxed and the skin absorbs nutrients more easily. Spend a few minutes warming the base of the penis, then use slow upward strokes to stimulate microcirculation. This routine not only supports better erections but also improves tissue responsiveness, helping the penis fill more quickly when stimulation begins. Pairing the massage with a warm compress enhances the absorption of rosemary oils and encourages the vessels to expand naturally. Over several days, this repeated stimulation trains the erectile tissue to receive and hold blood more effectively. Throughout the 7-day protocol, avoid habits that restrict circulation, such as heavy late meals, long periods of sitting without movement, and excessive sugar intake. These small adjustments make a noticeable difference in how quickly rosemary can work. The combination of internal and external methods creates a cumulative effect that becomes stronger with each passing day. By the end of the week, many men feel fuller erections, increased sensitivity, and a renewed sense of confidence, because the body is finally receiving the support it has been missing. If you reached this point, it means the subject matters to you and that you value understanding how your body works. Leave a comment with the phrase "This message was for me," so I know you stayed with me until the end. And if this content helped you, consider subscribing to the channel and giving a like, because it helps this information reach more men who need it. There is a video right here that continues this topic and deepens your understanding of natural sexual health, so click and keep going with me on the next step of your journey.